Nickelodeon might be a very big children's TV network, but it's not perfect at all. Today I'll be talking about some of Nickelodeon's worst mistakes in the past, and if they got a second chance, then things would be very different. The first mistake I want to talk about is Nickelodeon rejecting Adventure Time.
It's Adventure Time, come on, grab your friends, we'll go to very distant lands. Jake the dog and Ben the human, the fun will never end, it's Adventure Time.
This was a huge opportunity for Nickelodeon to expand its horizons and have a cartoon that wasn't really on the network before. Like, Adventure Time was something unique and a lot of viewers would really like it. A lot of people already know this, but just in case you didn't, it was submitted to Nickelodeon before Cartoon Network, and Nickelodeon denied it because they thought it was too weird. That was a huge mistake because, as you know by now, Adventure Time gained a huge following. It was one of those cartoons that sparked the cartoon renaissance in the late 2000s, and once Cartoon Network accepted it, everyone went over to that network to watch it, and they were like, wow, this is actually really good. I'm gonna start watching this on Cartoon Network every new episode. So when Nickelodeon made the horrible decision of not greenlighting Adventure Time, they lost a lot of what could have been success, and the people that made that decision are likely regretting it. Now, I should mention, if Adventure Time was on Nickelodeon, things might be very different for the show, because Nickelodeon treats their cartoons very differently than Cartoon Network. I feel like Nickelodeon Adventure Time would be a bit more toned down. There wouldn't be too many dark aspects to the show because Nickelodeon is just for kids. There is a possibility that Nickelodeon Adventure Time would not become popular due to Nickelodeon's restrictions on the show, but I still feel like there would be a lot of people wanting to watch this show, and them passing it on to Cartoon Network was just a pretty big mistake.
I'm a boy.
Well then, thank you, brave boy.
Whoa, what is going on?
Nothing. We gotta go. Okay, bye, princess.
Another one of Nickelodeon's worst mistakes is moving Fairly Oddparents from the main channel to Nicktoons. When Fairly Oddparents was on the main channel of Nickelodeon, it was getting a consistent amount of viewers, nothing too incredible, but definitely over 1 million for each new episode. However, when they made the decision to move it to Nicktoons, that's basically giving it an early death, because right when that happened, this show's ratings plummeted into an abyss. Each new premiere got around 0.3 million viewers, and sometimes even worse than that, so 1 million less people were tuning in each new episode, and that is pretty terrible. Now granted, I do think modern Fairly Oddparents is a completely garbage show, but if we're looking at this purely from the business perspective, a lot of people were familiar with the Fairly Oddparents, and keeping it on the main channel would just result in better business. More people would still be watching the newer episodes even though the show is getting worse. So I'm not exactly sure why Nickelodeon made this decision. I guess they decided to cancel it, and by moving it to Nicktoons they have an excuse for that. So the group of people that made that decision probably does not like the Fairly Oddparents. Another big mistake Nickelodeon has been making more in the recent years is that they are putting a huge emphasis on the trashy sitcoms.
Welcome to Camp Nickelodeon.
My friend Rufus and my dog Rufus are the same person.
Don't get me wrong, Nickelodeon has always been a channel full of sitcoms. I'm not going to deny that because it's never been purely cartoons. However, Nicktoons should be the focus because that's what gets the most views. That's what most people know Nickelodeon for. But in the last few years, we got some horrible sitcoms like Henry Danger, Game Shakers, Bella and the Bulldogs. I could go on and on with this list, but I really don't want to because these shows are just really, really bad. By focusing so much of the schedule on these trashy sitcoms and barely having any Nicktoons, so many people are tuning out of the network and not showing up anymore. You have all those older fans that watch the classic Nicktoons, and then they're never going to come back to Nickelodeon because all they see is a bunch of trashy sitcoms. The amount of cartoons nowadays is very minimal, and I feel like the ratio between sitcoms and cartoons is way too high on the sitcom side. It's just losing business, and this is definitely a mistake Nickelodeon could fix in the future. They could introduce a bunch of new original Nicktoons that I think a lot of people would really like, but we'll just have to wait and see if they correct this mistake later on.
On the 12th day of Nick, listening to the on TV, 12 bubbles blowing.
The final Nickelodeon mistake I'll be talking about is canceling Invader Zim very early. Invader Zim is one of those cartoons that really should have gone on much longer. I don't exactly know how Nickelodeon accepted it in the first place, but it was just really good, and after Nickelodeon canceled it, the fandom just increased so much. However, with this mistake, I feel like Nickelodeon is learning because we do have that upcoming Invader Zim movie. They are probably well aware that the fandom has grown since its cancellation, because if not, then they wouldn't be making this movie in the first place. But seriously, there were various story arcs that were starting to go on in Invader Zim's last season, and some were never finished because Nickelodeon decided to cancel it. All we can do is hope that this upcoming movie is going to revive the show yet again, and they'll possibly let the creator bring it back for more episodes. That would be pretty incredible. But anyway, that's all for this video. Subscribe for more awesome cartoon videos. Give a thumbs up and comment below to let me know what you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.